Hi, Ali Duzette here, astrologer and medical intuitive, and I wanted to talk really quickly about the astrology of the La Palma volcanic eruption that happened earlier today. This eruption took place at 3:24 p.m. local time in La Palma on the Canary Islands, which are part of Spain but kind of off the coast of Africa. And this volcanic eruption is interesting because there is a small and unlikely chance that part of the island could actually come apart from the island and like sink into the water and cause this huge tsunami, which would lead to 300-foot waves on the Africa side and 100+ foot waves on the Atlantic Ocean side along the east coast of the United States. So I say it's a slim chance, and it is like pretty darn slim. It is apparently the equivalent of winning the lottery 3 times in a row. So don't go buying up your tsunami insurance right now, and like now is probably not the time to be going crazy or something like that. And currently the land is still attached on La Palma. La Palma is interesting because it is not part of it is kind of like a shelf that goes out into the ocean, but it doesn't have anything under it. So if that piece of land cracks off from the main island, it will sink, and that is what would cause massive waves. And so there's some debate on if that would happen or not, but the fact is the volcano started erupting today, and there has been documented uplift in the past couple of days. Big just tons of earthquakes. There's been like 20,000 earthquakes there in the past week, and interestingly, all of this earthquake action started on September 11th, which is obviously a notable day for Americans, at least. So anyway, I wanted to pull up this chart of the La Palma eruption, September 19th, 2021, 3:24 p.m. in Spain. And I just wanted to see what was going on. Now I looked up whenever I would be looking at an earthquake or a volcanic eruption, what I would want to really look at is Uranus, which is the planet of like sudden events and sudden changes and destruction. Um, so here we have Uranus, and it is in opposition to Venus over here in Scorpio. And I'll come back to that in a minute. But this is Uranus down here in Taurus. And it's in the 4th house of home, shaking up the things that are the most stable in your life, I guess. But so we have this aspect of Uranus to Venus in the 10th house up here. But really quick, I want to mention that I had done a little bit of research, and I found an article from the International Society for Astrological Research. This article is by Ed Tamplin from January 17th of 2021. And he no, it's okay. I'll just leave it here. One thing that he found is that he studied a bunch of different earthquakes over time and found that for all of them, they had almost all planets within 180 degrees. And so here you can see that in 180 degrees, we have pretty much 8 planets, right? And the only one that's not really in there is Uranus. So that is interesting. One thing he also noted is that many earthquakes and notable disasters of that nature happen leading up to the full moon, and we are actually having a full moon tomorrow. So that's interesting as well. That will be the full moon with Virgo. The sun will be in Virgo, and the moon will be in Pisces, just like a little bit more over here. So we're building up to the full moon. The full moon, the moon obviously impacts tidal movement and everything like that. So anyway, that is just an interesting thing that this this chart does seem to match up with patterns from past charts of big earthquakes and volcanic eruptions and stuff of that nature. So as I was looking at this chart, a couple of things stood out to me. So the first one, so I mentioned we always want to look at Uranus. What's Uranus up to? And here we have Uranus in opposition to Venus. And Venus has a lot going on in this chart. Uranus is only aspecting one planet, which is Venus, but Venus has kind of a lot going on because we have this aspect to Uranus. And then Venus is trine the moon. So there's a lot of flow between the moon and Venus. And then it's squaring Saturn, opposition to Uranus. It's got this little sesquisquare action to Chiron. So Venus is going to be kind of a big player here, it seems to me. Now, I will admit that I'm not sure exactly what to make of it at this point. But I really did think it was quite interesting that it has this square to Saturn, which deals with karma and consequences in the sign of Aquarius, which Uranus is like the planet that's kind of in charge of the sign of Aquarius, and Aquarius is also very sudden, abrupt. It's the sign of unexpected events. And so we have a lot of tension here with unexpected events and karmic consequences, and it's connecting up to who? To Venus. Venus deals with money, finances, romance. Venus also governs the second house. And the second house down here is all about stability. And so I think that's also a really interesting thing, is that the second house here is cusped by Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus. And then Uranus is here in Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus. So we have this kind of like mutual reception action going on, where there's definitely a theme here of the Uranus and Aquarius versus Venus and Taurus, but with a Scorpio flavor. And Scorpio deals with death and transformation, death and rebirth. So a death and rebirth of things that we love. Venus deals with things that we love. Venus deals with material possessions and like the stuff of your life. It can be under Venus. So transformative energy around stuff and things, life and death, unexpected events that shake up the earth itself. Taurus represents like the physical planet of the earth. So this is just really interesting. And then of course we have this trine to the moon, this emotional energy, and on a planetary level, I mean, obviously, like the moon does impact the tides. So I don't know super tons what to make of it. If you have any insights, please share them in the comments, because I want to hear them. And I'm going to be still thinking about this, but another thing that really stood out to me here was this Mercury here conjunct the midheaven. Mercury is the communicator and deals with messages, and the midheaven is kind of like the what is your reputation, what is this moment known for? And to me, this is saying this moment is a message. No matter what happens, like if this is a big deal or if it's only a big deal, like guess what, it's a big deal to someone. The people living on the Canary Islands, like this is a big deal for them, even if it doesn't lead to massive destruction in other places. So this is a big deal for someone, but no matter how big of a deal it becomes, to me, I'm looking at this and thinking, okay, there is really a divine message here that's worth taking a look at. So Uranus goes with Aquarius and the 11th house, which is right here, and this is the south node. Our south node right now is in Sagittarius, and so I did think that was kind of interesting as well, that this has the look of a divine message about shaking up our stability and the stuff that we love and our physical stuff. And then it has to do with our overall nodal path, which is going from Sagittarius to Gemini, dealing with, I mean, I've done some videos on this in my Pluto return video and my zombie apocalypse video. We talk about this, but, you know, it's this conflict between, do you trust the scientists or what you see with your own eyes? And so somebody commented on my Facebook post about this on my personal page, Ali Duzet. They said, how come the news isn't covering this? And I thought, you know, it's probably because they don't want to be alarmists. They don't want everyone living on the entire East Coast to get up and move. And like, that would cause a disaster. Like if this is nothing and nothing happens, spreading alarmist information would cause an alarm. Like that would cause a disaster if everyone thinks like, oh my gosh, we're all gonna die, and they all try to leave, but they're not but nothing's happening. Like that in itself is just irresponsible and awful and could lead to lots of problems. So we have the situation where people aren't talking about it, um as much as some people might think that they should be. But again, it comes back to this conflict of, you know, what are the scientists saying and what are we seeing with our own eyes? And that's the, you know, Sagittarius is like the scientist, theologist, philosopher versus, um, you know, Gemini, who's kind of like the elementary school teacher that's teaching you how to notice things with your own observations instead of, you know, you don't have to go to college to see that this volcano is erupting, right? So that's an interesting conflict here going along with it. Now we have on the ascendant, our ascendant here is at 29 degrees 13 minutes of Sagittarius. So that's like really quite cutting it close. It's like right on the line between Sagittarius and Capricorn. So that also seems pretty significant to me. Um, and so I'll be interested to see how that plays out in the coming days, because you know, this is an ongoing situation that we're going to keep our eyes on for a couple of days and we'll see what happens. If land comes off of this island and does sink into the ocean, I would generate a separate chart for that. And if there was any kind of, you know, big waves or something, I would generate a separate chart for that. But it will be interesting to see how this ascendant plays out. The ascendant is kind of like the face that you put on for the world. And so at 29 degrees Sagittarius, I don't know, it may be a kind of a karmic presentation of quote unquote the science, you know, what it, I'll just leave it at that and say, we'll just see how it plays out. And now it looks like there is also a possible grand trine going on, or maybe not. Let's see. Grand trine air here between the south node and Saturn, or sorry, this is the north node. So this is our, you know, our highest destiny kind of for the year, like our life mission. What are we supposed to be learning at this time on a planetary level? This is the karmic stuff that's coming up, our baggage and consequences that are coming up to be dealt with in an unexpected Aquarius way. And then we have that trine from Saturn to Saturn to the north node. Where's Saturn? And to Mars. And so Mars is also fire. Mars is the fiery earthquake, like or the fiery volcano. You know, Mars is the fiery, it's a fire sign, a fire planet. And so that's a really interesting you know, setup here, that we get to learn some big life lessons from this if we're listening to the messages, which again could be overt and could be really subtle. And we're learning messages about consequences and about, I don't know, Mars is the fighter, and, you know, it deals with fire. You know, when a lot of times when there's like forest fires, there's interesting stuff going on with Mars and Aries. And indeed here in Aries we do have Chiron, the deepest soul wound, in this fire sign here. So And of course, Sagittarius is also fire sign. So so that's an interesting placement there as well. So anyway, I'll just wrap it up. My big takeaway from this is I don't know what will happen. Probably nothing for, North Americans. I feel terrible for the people in La Palma that have to deal with it in the Canary Islands, but hopefully nothing will happen. But for those of us that are paying attention, we need to realize that there may be a divine message here for us, that there is something to be learned about, um, you know, what consequences, what are our unresolved baggages that we need to resolve because we don't want them to end in fire? What do we need to be paying attention to in the here and now? Um, and yeah, that Venus, what material objects are we afraid of being shaken up? And oh, and one last thing. Sorry, I was going to wrap it up there, but one more interesting thing from that other astrologer, Ed Tamplin. He pointed out that if you extend the orb of Uranus out by 15 degrees, which a normal orb is closer to 6 degrees, then it was typically the case that major earthquakes and eruptions like that were within orb of the midheaven. And so sure enough, this is the midheaven, and you can see that at 23 degrees of Libra, down here it's going to be 23 degrees Aries, and here we have Uranus at 14 degrees Taurus. But if you extend the orb to 15 degrees, that puts the sphere of influence of Uranus right there at 29 degrees Aries, which would put it solidly within that 6-degree orb of opposition to the midheaven. So that's just another interesting thing, the patterns of the heavens. Okay, well, hopefully it's nothing, but it's always good to pay attention to divine messages in the night sky. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. I think you're awesome. Have a good day.